Hi, welcome everyone. We're going to get started in a little bit, so feel free to settle in and we'll get rolling soon. So thank you all so much for joining. Welcome, welcome. For those of you who I may not have met before, my name is Wes Boucher. My pronouns are he, him, and his, and I serve as one of the assistant directors of academic advising. My work predominantly outside of advising works with first-year students. And so that is why I'm here today, and I'm excited to present for you all. So we're also joined by Paul Riley, the Assistant Dean for Student Success, if you want to say hi.
Yeah, just saying hello. Thanks for joining us and thanks for connecting. I'm going to be on the Q&A function. So Wes is going to take you through the presentation. So if you've got any questions along the way, feel free to type them in. And if there's a good opportunity for me to stop Wes, I will. But otherwise, I'll try to keep as many as I can until the end. But, thanks again for connecting. So I'm going to turn off my video and turn it over to Wes.
Awesome. So the topic we're covering tonight is helping your student prepare for academic advising day. What that'll look like, or what our agenda together will look like, is we're going to talk about what is academic advising day. Hopefully some of y'all have heard of it, and if not, we'll be able to chat a little bit about that. We're going to talk about the difference between an academic support advisor and a faculty advisor. I'm sure you've heard some of those names thrown around before, and so we'll talk a little bit about that. How students can locate faculty advisor information, so how students will be able to look it up. So while you're talking to your student about it, helping them see what they can do. What are some of those tips that we have for students in preparing for academic advising day? And what are some of those questions we recommend students ask their faculty advisor? As Paul mentioned, he is going to be on the Q&A. So if you do have any questions, feel free to be populating them in that function. I won't be taking a look at that as I'm presenting. So if you have anything specific for me, Paul will let me know, or we can kind of chat about it at the end. We're going to get right rolling on in. So what is Academic Advising Day? Academic Advising Day is a day in which students have no classes, so there are no classes scheduled on that day, and students are encouraged to meet with their faculty advisors that day. If students cannot meet with their faculty advisor on Academic Advising Day, which certainly happens, I know I've had a couple of folks reaching out about scheduling conflicts or questions like that. Scheduling, they can certainly make appointments for other days as well. This is not the only day through which students can make appointments. It's just a way to help make it a little bit easier to do so. And that those appointments or scheduling that time together can happen in a number of different ways. Students should make sure they're paying attention to any information they're getting from their faculty advisors or their departments with regards to resources about signing up. For example, some departments may be doing group advising, and so they're asking students to attend a specific group session together, or faculty advisors have their own specific sign-up platform, in which case they are going to ask their students to book their times via the times they've already listed. So students really should be making sure they've paid attention to any emails they may have received from their faculty advisor to make sure they're scheduling appropriately. And if they maybe haven't received a message yet, students are absolutely able to set up an appointment with their faculty advisor and email them directly as well. So again, I mentioned that you may have seen both of these titles before, Academic Support Advisor and Faculty Advisor, and we wanted to take some time to explain about what those are and what are those differences. So Academic Support Advisors are staff out of the Office of Academic Advising, such as myself, such as Paul. Every student has an Academic Support Advisor from day one, the moment they step foot onto campus, and we stick with our students from the time they begin until the time they cross that stage and earn their degree. We support students through the entirety of their WPI experience, and our work really focuses on that holistic academic support. So how are they doing in their classes? What are some of those things that they're observing and seeing, and how can we help them make meaning to that? On the flip side of that, each first-year student in C term is assigned a faculty advisor. So that is a faculty member in their desired department and program of study. And the role of the faculty advisor is to help their advisees in designing what that program of study will look like. And so helping students to decide, what courses they could pick, what classes or what subjects make sense for them with regards to their interests in their desired field, and how can they use that information to create a program of study that fits what the program is designated for, but then also resonates with their passions and what they want to do moving forward. Faculty advisors can also talk to students about academic alternatives. So if there is a substitution that may need to be made to a program of study, and help them to interpret catalog requirements and review degree audits. And all of that information that helps them to make sure they're also staying on track for graduation as well. How can you find a faculty advisor's contact information? So as I mentioned, every first-year student is assigned a faculty advisor in the beginning of C term, and that information lives in Workday. So if a student goes into Workday and clicks on the academics worklet, they're going to be able to see an option that says view my support network, located on the right-hand side of the screen. In this page, they will be able to see all of the folks that are in their support network and all of their names and contact information. So our information, so the academic support advisors, are also going to be listed there as well, and our contact information and any advisor that is assigned to them. And so that is a faculty advisor, so their primary advisor. If a student is a double major, they'll have a faculty advisor in both programs. That second faculty advisor listed as major 2 advisor. But again, all of that information will live in Workday and is readily available to students whenever they want to look at that. So they would again go to Workday, click on the academics worklet, and click view my support network. How to be prepared for Academic Advising Day. Proactively, what we suggest is really proactively scheduling those meetings. Every student that reaches out to me right now, I've been encouraging them, like Academic Advising Day is coming up. It's next Thursday. Why don't you set up a time to meet with your faculty advisor, get on their calendars now, because you're going to want to make sure you're starting to build that connection. So students should really schedule those meetings in advance. Some advisors, again, will be sending out sign-up sheets. They'll be sending out how they're going to be connecting with their students that day. And so they really want to make sure that they're paying attention to what that information looks like and making sure that they're doing it ahead of time. Another way in which we encourage folks to be prepared is to try to print out and fill out a program tracking sheet for their desired major. Our program tracking sheets are all listed on the WPI.edu site. If you look up program tracking sheets, readily able to be downloaded by every student. Filling this out and having it ready for your academic faculty advisor meeting will be really helpful in having you be able to see where you're tracking right now with your major, what are you currently working on, and then what are those spaces you together can decide you want to look at. The last thing that we would really encourage folks to think about is really be prepared with some questions. Sometimes just putting that little bit of thought and writing down some of the things you'd like to talk about can help the meeting feel much more natural and feel much more productive. I always recommend folks to create an agenda for their meetings and really create talking points in case they get nervous or in case they forget, just so they have something to hold themselves accountable to. Also, we encourage, really try to plan and arrive early. Time is valuable. You want to make sure that you're using all of the time that you have effectively. Oftentimes on academic advising day, advisors will have a number of meetings scheduled. And so you want to make sure that you are prompt, you're on time, and you're ready to go. And finally, following up. It's really important that students follow up with their faculty advisors, send a thank you email, because again, this is a faculty member in your desired program of study. They're going to have network connections that they may be able to assist you with making in the future. And so developing a rapport with them and developing a relationship with them early on so that they're able to really get to know you and your interests is really going to be helpful as you move further down your time at WPI. Questions that we suggest folks ask about with their faculty advisor is, what are your preferred methods of communication? And most of our faculty advisors, they may communicate via email. Some may connect a Slack group or a Discord group or another method of communication that they've decided is the best way for them to be in touch with their advisees. And so making sure you've confirmed what that looks like is going to be helpful for you as you continue to develop that relationship. Again, as I mentioned earlier, talking about your tracking sheet and all of the degree requirements that are found within it are super helpful in making sure that you understand what's ahead of you and what expectations you need to fulfill in order to graduate. So that can be anything from, I have to take Calcs 1 through 4, and I'm trying to decide when I want to fit that in, or, I have a space for engineering design electives, and I'm kind of thinking about what makes the most sense for me in my major and my career goals of what I should be picking. So using that space and time and really piecing through that program tracking sheet to just start to figure out what are some good spaces for you to decide as a student to really pursue, and what are some things that they may suggest as a member of the faculty, again, as someone who has been in that industry before, in what makes sense for you in building that future for yourself. Another thing we would encourage folks to talk about is really how to run a degree audit in Workday. We have in our Workday system and our Workday platform, we have our academic progress reports, which also help students to track the information that they have with regards to how they're completing their degree in the course and how the courses they've taken match up to those degree requirements. Faculty advisors have access to that information as well. And so reviewing that information together is very helpful. And again, just making sure that you understand as an active member in your academic plan, what you've completed, what is still ahead of you, and how might that look in finishing that up. One really great thing that folks can talk about, or a really great question that I would often encourage folks to discuss in their academic advising meeting with their faculty advisor, or what courses to register for the upcoming academic year. Our course schedule is available in Workday. We also have a course listing site that has course information available to students. And so working with your faculty advisor to decide based off of what your interests are, what you've completed, recommended background that you've already been able to achieve, what courses align perfectly with your goals, what makes the most sense developmentally for you to start to consider, and how might you continue to tackle and piece through your plan in finishing your degree. Finally, another thing that we encourage folks to ask questions about to their faculty advisor, or a really helpful thing to talk about with your faculty advisor, is how to draft an academic plan. Oftentimes, I have folks asking to create a 4-year plan, and while that's something that we in our office can certainly help with, sometimes I find it to be helpful and fun to create that with your academic faculty advisor. So that way you have, again, that industry knowledge, that person that's teaching the courses, it's going to be a face you're going to see, and helping you to really think about, based off of how courses are offered, or based off of what your interests are, what could be an achievable plan for you to help give you something or some semblance of something to go off of. Important dates that we want to highlight for folks and for you all as you're working with your students. So again, Academic Advising Day is February 23rd. Something that's going to be happening during Academic Advising Day that we're really excited about, that hopefully students will tap into too, is there will be a BSMS fair from 12 to 1 p.m. in Unity Hall 500. For some of our students that are interested in learning more about the BSMS offerings at WPI and how that could look, that would be a really cool opportunity to get to know some of the faculty coordinators of those programs and start to get some more information to see how that might fold into their overall plan and what that could look like in their time at WPI. Another thing that I would highlight is the course registration dates. These are all listed on our public website as well, and so students have access to looking this up. But Rising Senior or course registration will happen over 2 weeks, the first week being fall courses, the second week being spring courses. For Rising Seniors, they'll register for their fall courses on March 29th. They'll register for their spring on April 3rd. Our Rising Juniors will register for March 30th. They'll also register for their spring course on April 4th. And finally, our Rising Sophomores will register on March 31st for their fall courses, and they'll register for their spring courses on April 5th. Again, this information is on our public-facing website, and so students have access to this as well. But as you're working with your student, or as your student may be connecting with you with regards to their academic plan, we figured it would be helpful for you all to see that as well. Tips for registration that we have and we provide to all students, and something that we find to be helpful for you too, is really make sure that students do not have any holds on their records. So that are health holds, onboarding holds, financial hold, anything like that. It's always good to make sure that those are resolved, as holds will prevent a student from registering for courses in a timely manner. And to maximize your chance to get the courses you're hoping to take, we recommend registering as promptly as possible on your day and time, and to do so, making sure any holds you have are resolved. Students should also confirm their registration time ticket. This will be sent to them in an email from the registrar's office. This should also be readily available to them in Workday as well, and the academics worklet. I've walked through this information, and now we would like to see if you have any questions, or if there's anything that we may be able to chat through with you all. And so Paul is coming back, so let's talk about questions.
Yeah, thanks, Wes, and I'll give you a little bit of a break, and I'll try to answer some of these questions. So there are some questions in the Q&A. I'm going to go read them and try to answer them. So the first question is about the humanities and arts requirement, and of course we could probably spend quite a lot of time talking about that requirement, but specifically, student who wants to do a language, is it 6 courses plus HU 3900, or 5 language courses and then the number 6 is humanities 3900. So for students who do all their courses in languages, and we have a number of languages on offer, they actually just do all 6. They don't do the HU 3900 or 3910. The 6th course actually counts as the capstone experience for those students. And there's a variety of other ways that we can help students kind of navigate through that degree requirement. So certainly if they have questions about that, feel free to have them get in touch with the advisor in our office. The students also have a faculty advisor for a minor in addition to their major. So at WPI, we have a number of minors. Minors are 6 courses, and typically for most minors, there's not an advisor. Most students are able to kind of go through the degree requirements in the catalog. There are some exceptions, I think psychological sciences, I think math, and there is a designated faculty member in each department who can answer any questions about a minor, but there typically is not a minor advisor because of the low number of courses. Wes, you want to take this one? How do AP courses factor in, and how can students see them on the record? And if they're not on the record, what do they do?
Absolutely. So AP courses can certainly, based off of the course, replace certain core requirements. And I say that strategically because, for example, AP HUA courses, for example, so AP history, AP language, another kind of AP like foreign language perhaps. One of the AP courses may count towards the humanities honors requirement. The other, so say a student had more than one HUA based AP course, those would count as free electives. But if a student took AP statistics and got a 4 or a 5, that can count for statistics or the first statistics course at WPI. If a student took AP Calc BC, for example, that would be equivalent to Calcs 1, 2, and 3 at WPI. Students should hopefully have sent their AP scores over through College Board. If they did, they should be able to, if they are in Workday, see transfer credit or a tab for transfer credits in their Workday academic progress report, which would show them what their APs that they were awarded, and they would show that information. If they don't see that information in Workday, that would be a very good indication that perhaps we may not have that information. And in that case, I would have them follow up with the registrar or follow up with College Board to confirm that those scores were received and or that they were sent to begin with.
So a question about if the student doesn't feel their academic advisor is kind of the right fit for them, what do they do? So I'll answer that. So if it's somebody in our team in the professional advising office or a faculty advisor, you can change. We can change that. You know, we want to make sure students feel supported, that they've connected with the advisor. They just get in touch with the academic advising office, and we can make the change. So if it's a faculty advisor specifically, sometimes the student actually maybe really connects with a professor during their course. We encourage the student just to maybe ask the professor, because we try to balance out caseloads as much as we can. And that's usually a great opportunity for them to connect and ask. So but we can absolutely make that change. Wes, you want to say what is a registration time ticket?
Absolutely. So registration time ticket is going to be alerting the students on what days they'll be registering. So if they're registering with the Rising Junior group, if they're registering with the Rising Sophomore group, or if they're registering with the Rising Senior group. Registration opens up at the same time for every student in each group. And so really they want to make sure they're confirming based off of the number of credits they've received and finished, what group they'd be registering with. So either of the sets that I mentioned earlier, those are going to be those time tickets that they want to confirm. And just, again, though it'll open at the same day, which 2 days will they be following for registration?
Question about, do the students get the same presentation as we're going over here, or how do they get the info? Wes, do you want to talk about like a kind of our outreach plan? Of course, we don't do presentation for students, but we do send them quite kind of a robust email about their preparation.
Yeah, absolutely. I went to click the mic and I clicked on to move forward. So we do really make sure we're intentionally reaching out to all of our students to hopefully provide space for them to understand this information and to make sure that they are sitting down and really grappling with in their space and time what that looks like. We also are trying to expand of multiple modems of platforms of communication with our students. And so some of the folks in our team have created a really robust social media campaign to really break down some of the information we provided to you in this space into small, tangible electro bits for them to process day by day as we lead up to the day of. So hopefully through our email communication, through our meetings with our students, and through our social media campaigns, they'll have gotten this information, or they'll begin to be grappling with that information and making sure that they are finding the time that they can on advising day to connect.
So question, should the student meet with only the faculty advisor or both the faculty advisor and academic advisor on the 23rd? So I'll take that one. So first of all, the 23rd is a designated day where, there's no classes, and we really designate it as academic advising day. So really intentional, in order to prepare for registration. Students can meet with their faculty advisor on different days if the faculty member is available, or for some reason the students not available on that day. So there are other days, but we try to get as much done on that day. They typically would meet with their faculty advisor on that day. So most faculty advisors may have 20, 30, 40 students on their caseload. Wes and I probably have like 500 or 600. So for us, it's not feasible to obviously meet with that length of number of students, but what we try to do is really a supplemental advising model. So when we really want the students to be connecting with their faculty advisor, really is the primary advisor at this point, and then use us as kind of supplementary support. So if they got maybe a general question or the faculty member may not know the answer to it, then certainly connecting with us. So we at least have a team of people that are supporting your student, and they can meet with us kind of anytime through the year. Compare and see the transfer credit in Workday or just a student. I believe it's just a student that can see that. So they should be able to see that on their student profile in Workday. Wes, you want to take this one? When are students allowed to book a slot for advising day?
Students can start to book as soon as they'd like. So we would encourage students to reach out to their faculty advisors starting tonight, tomorrow, if they'd like as well, and just making sure that they've set aside that time and that they're aware of what that'll look like. And so as soon as the students feel like they're ready, or as soon as they'd like to, they can start reaching out to their faculty. The information, again, is all in Workday, so they can look it up whenever they feel most comfortable and start that process.
So a question about PE credit. Of course, our degree requirement are 4 wellness and physical education courses during their 16 terms. They are, certainly when students transition to first year, they're really packed, right? They're kind of, a lot of students take it. Students can get that kind of credit in a multitude of different ways, whether it's a varsity sport, a club sport, or a course. And so your students are going to see a lot more opportunities to take courses in their sophomore year. So absolutely encouraging them to take a couple of courses, even if they get 2 done in their sophomore year, then they'll have two left for their junior and senior year. So, but the sooner they can do it, the better. Right, it just gives them an opportunity to connect with other students in a different way. How long will the academic advisor meeting run? Is it just one for their major? So it kind of depends on each faculty member. There may be some faculty members who have low caseloads. Some of them, like I said, may have higher caseloads. It could be 15 minutes to maybe 30 minutes, depending. And of course, every student is a little bit different in how they've prepared for the meeting, what they kind of want to get out of it. Some departments will do group sessions as well. So they'll try to do some sessions that may lead up to academic advising day to kind of do some general information. And then the time spent with their academic advisor is a lot more valuable and intentional. So typically our meetings in our office usually run for 30 minutes, but from working at WPI since 2012, it varies. Some students come in, it's like a 10-minute quick meeting. Some want to go full hour, right? So every student is a little bit different on what they expect and what they want. Wes, you want to take this one? Is the HU 3900 course in addition to their 3 courses per term?
So if a student is registering for HU 3900, that would be one of the 3 courses we would recommend that they take. So HU 3900, which is the seminar or the practicum experience in the humanities and arts, is a full 1/3 course. And so if students are registering for that course, it would be one of the 3 that they should take in a term. I do not typically recommend folks overload with that, just so that they're giving themselves enough space and time to really engage with HU 3900 and that being present in that experience.
Question about, can tonight's attendees get the recording of the meeting? Absolutely. That's why we're recording it. And then for anyone else, I'm not sure what the easiest way to do that, Wes, would be certainly we could do email academic-advising@wpi.edu. We can pop that into the Q&A here, but reach out to either Wes or I or that, and we can send you the link to the presentation. If there's a question about your students whose advisor may be out on leave, and so if your student's advisor is out for any reason, we typically try to give them a co-advisor. If nothing's been arranged yet, absolutely reach out to them again with the co-advisor. If they don't hear back, certainly let us know. We would like to find out, kind of make sure that your student is supported. Like I said, not everything needs to happen on academic advising day, but we want that day to at least be a kickoff in the planning purposes. So feel free to have your student reach out to Wes or I. Will the faculty advisor be able to provide guidance regarding coursework and timing of projects? Yes, they should. That's the intention of faculty advisors. I will say that some faculty are really comfortable advising the courses within their major, maybe a newer faculty member. Some faculty members who've been at WPI for quite a long time may be very comfortable knowing about the humanities and arts requirements, the social science, the timing of the projects. maybe what courses may go well together, when to overload, when not to overload, those kinds of nuanced questions. And this is why we have a team of people, right? This is why we have a professional advisor who really is a generalist in knowing the WPI curriculum. Like, we know a little bit about everything, right? But we're not experts in robotics engineering or biochemistry. And that's why your student will have an expert in that discipline. So feel free to encourage them to connect with their faculty advisor. If there's questions that they don't know, definitely reaching out to us. Yeah, the 23rd is the academic advisor meeting day. That's correct. Do you suggest making a faculty advisor meeting later or earlier? Yeah, I mean, just reach out to see what the availability of the advisor is, as long as it is a few weeks before course registration, so there's time to plan and not be stressed out. That would probably be the best thing. So, but yeah, I guess sooner rather than later is probably better. Wes, you want to ask or answer this one? When is e-term registration, and why would a student take e-term, which is our summer classes?
Totally. So e-term registration actually just opened. And so students that are interested in our e-term or taking an e-term course are able to register for that e-term course starting now. Some of the reasons why folks might take an e-term class is that in some cases, if a student maybe based off of a term, maybe entered a class and they wanted to add and make up that time if they'd like to, if students want to get ahead, maybe. Sometimes for some of our students, if they're doing project work, or if there's an experience that they're hoping to gather from their courses, and that could be done during e-term, those could be some of the reasons through which students may take an e-term course. And so getting ahead, maybe giving themselves some comfort and then some flexibility, or building some flexibility and comfort into their schedule in the future. That could be why folks might consider that. But e-term courses are available now. Folks can see on Workday and via our summer courses platform how courses are being delivered, what courses are being offered this e-term, and when they could start to plan out what that'll look like. So if that's something that students are interested in, by all means, they can reach out to their academic support advisor, they can reach out to their faculty advisor, and we can absolutely help them in thinking about, what courses they could take or what are some options they could consider.
So a student who hasn't heard from their academic advisor or faculty advisor, what do they do? So I would say that some faculty advisors will reach out, some may not, may expect the student to reach out. Our team don't reach out at this time of year because we do rely on the faculty advisor to be providing support, but your student should definitely know who their support person is in our team. So we're the one who, if it's a first year student, would have worked with them last summer, helped them plan their courses. Of course, if they attended the first year welcome experience, we would have met them. They should just reach out to us, reach out to the faculty advisor, introduce themselves, kind of some of the things that kind of Wes went over, and just say, like, when are you available? I'd love to meet, I'm a first year student, I'm this major, and see what availability they have. Question, does the faculty advisor give guidance for BS/MS programs, or is that a separate discussion with another advisor? So yeah, typically this is their this is their expertise, right? So students, depending on what they are getting their bachelor's and master's in, certainly it's a great conversation with their faculty advisor about why, what kind of combination they may want to do. Again, going to that fair is just a fantastic opportunity on February 23rd, the BSMS fair. They'll be able to connect with different programs and departments. We work with students who do a bachelor's and master's in the same subject. Maybe it's mechanical engineering, or sometimes we have students who do a bachelor's in maybe electrical and computer engineering and go on and do a master's in business, right? So maybe they're getting into project management or consulting, they want to get into that. So it is usually a conversation with at least one of their advisors about why they want to do it, and then of course what is the pathway as they start to go on. And if it's, whether it's internships or grad school, they're going to typically need faculty letters of recommendation or support. So that's why we really try to encourage them to get to know their advisor, right? This is a very intentional relationships that's built out through over the 4 years, that hopefully if they foster that will be a very easy letter of recommendation that they'll be able to ask for grad school. Wes, you want to take this one? Is there any info on the humanities capstone project details? or who should they reach out to? You want to talk about the e-projects or something?
Yeah, absolutely. So students can look up humanities capstone projects on a platform called eProjects. So it's eprojects.wpi.edu. This will be the same platform that they can see IQP opportunities when they're going to get ready to start applying for that as well. So all of that information, so that is something that they'll start to use a little bit more as they move on in their WPI experience. But on eProjects, you're able to filter through very specific times when you're hoping to do your humanities project, very specific projects in and of themselves. And so if you're specifically looking for a philosophy and religion project to happen in D term of 2024, you're able to really filter down and look for that information on eProjects. And there you'll be able to see what the projects are or what the practicums are that are being offered, who is leading that practicum, so the faculty member who is running that course, and then actually also apply for it. So students will actually register for their humanities and arts practicum on eProjects, and once they're registered for and accepted on eProjects, they'll be registered for the course by our registrar's office. So eprojects.wpi.edu is where students can start to look. I will say that projects will continue, or practicums will continue to be loaded in. So I don't want folks to check tonight and see that there's nothing, and that means that there's nothing offered. That's simply not the case. There will certainly be stuff added in as it continues to roll out. And so folks can continue to look through eProjects to see what's being offered and really what resonates with them.
We have went through all the questions so far, but we are happy to answer more. So feel free to keep typing them in. Haven't lost our voices yet, so we're going okay. So question is, kind of the humanities 3,900 the same as the IQP? So the answer is no, they're very distinct degree requirements. So the humanities 3,900 serves as kind of the capstone experience for our 6-course humanities and arts requirement. The IQP stands for Interactive Qualifying Project, is a 3-course requirement typically done in the junior year. And for many of our students, it's typically done at a project center, mostly international, but certainly domestic project centers as well. So students will typically do the IQP in the junior year. They normally go away for 1 term. Students apply for these IQPs in the junior year at the beginning of their sophomore year. So typically in our A term of their sophomore year, there's a whole fair about the opportunities, and then students will actually apply for the project in their junior year, so that when they register for their junior year courses, they know what term they will be going their project. Wes, if students stay for E term in the summer, can you talk about housing?
Yeah, so summer housing is absolutely available to students. They would want to make sure they've applied and they filled out the summer housing application, which I do not believe has opened yet. That's something that residential services will be communicating out to students and showing them how they apply. If I am not mistaken, they can pay per day or they can pay per week. But summer housing is absolutely available on campus for students if they are interested in it, or if they need it, or if they will be in an apartment off campus. Typically those leases start in early June. And so we have had students just move into their fall housing if it's an off-campus apartment as early as June and take summer courses as well.
So question, senior years when they do the MQP, and by now you probably have thinking all these acronyms, right, at WPI. So the MQP stands for Major Qualifying Project. It is a research capstone experience in the student's major. So whereas the IQP in the junior year is typically done out of major, you're working with students in other majors, the MQP is designed to be something specific. And so does it take the entire year? I mean, if it's an on-campus project, it may run A, B, C, and D. In that situation, it is worth 3 full courses. So students are typically taking 12 courses in the year. So they normally would be doing 9 other courses and then 3/3 of MQP. So if they are taking it A, B, and C term, they will be doing 2 other courses plus 1/3 of MQP. Students can also go to project centers to do MQP, so they could potentially do it in one term, and then the other terms would be just coursework. So it's, you know, it varies a little bit. When are next fall term courses available to review? I believe I heard from the registrar that it's going to be available next week in advance of academic advising day. So there may be changes, you know, but the vast majority of courses will be posted, so students can work with their advisor on advising day to at least look at the courses that are available. I think I answered this one. So only eight classes in senior year plus MQP is typically 9 courses plus the MQP. But again, every student is a little bit different. We work with variety of students, right? Students who sometimes are ahead, and we think about, you know, helping them out. Sometimes they graduate early, sometimes they're doing a minor. Certainly a good number of students are doing our bachelor's and master's combined programs, so they may be taking grad course in their senior year. So everything is a little bit individualized for each student. Wait, so you want this one? At what point or year do students typically take their humanities practicum course?
Yeah, absolutely. So students can really think to take their humanities practicum course as soon as they've completed the humanities and arts courses that they need to feel prepared for it. Thinking about, you know, that humanities practicum is that culminating experience of the humanities and arts. And so realistically, they'll want to have those, again, 3 courses in their depth area, that course in their breadth, that humanities elective completed. So those 5 courses before they probably think about maybe approaching their seminar. What that'll look like for folks is that sometimes that'll happen maybe end of their second year with us. Sometimes that'll happen in their 3rd or their 4th year as well. I think really it fits to the student schedule and what the student's needs are, and just making sure that they're being attentive to that. But if a student is tracking well and taking a humanities and arts course every term in the beginning of their time with us, they may be prepared to do a seminar again the later half, so the spring semester C&D terms of their second year here with us. So really it works when it fits with when the students schedule calls for it, and when they are finding a project that resonates with them, and that our practicum that resonates with them that they're registering for.
The students receive an email with an assigned faculty advisor meeting time. So it's not going to be an automated thing where they're going to be kind of signed up for a specific slot. Have your student reaching out to their faculty advisor to inquire availability on that day is the best thing, and then they should coordinate exactly what the time may be. So kind of just to follow up again, there's some questions just about the MQP, the major qualifying project. It can basically be done in typical WPI fashion of flexibility: 1 term, 2 terms, 3 terms, or 4 terms. So it's the exact same number of credit. It's just split out differently depending on what the project is, what the deliverables are. Students may be working with an outside sponsor. They say, we want you to work on it for the full year. And so the credit may be broken out like a 1/3 unit in A term, 1/3 unit in B term, and then maybe a 1/6 of a unit and a 1/6 of a unit, or any combination that you can probably fathom that is possible at WPI. So it's really a flexible project depending on what the deliverables are. Well, you want this one. If a student gets an NR in Calculus 2, but then goes on to take or pass Calculus 2, 3, and 4, do they really have to go back and take Calculus 1?
So that is a great question, and that would be something that I would encourage them to talk about with their faculty advisor, because as I mentioned earlier, faculty advisors will talk to any student about academic substitutions to their major. And so if there is a qualifying experience that the faculty advisor may suggest, or something that they may recommend the student do in place of Calculus 1, if really they progress past Calculus 1, that's going to be something the faculty advisor would approve of. That's going to be something that the faculty advisor will be really able to guide the student with. And so that's absolutely a conversation I would encourage that student to have with their faculty.
Yeah, exactly. And some majors will require Calculus 1, Calculus 2, Calculus 3, Calculus 4. Some majors may not require calculus. So for example, computer science, you have to do 7 math courses, at least 1 in statistics and 1 in probability. The other 5 math can be any math courses. So it really kind of depends a little bit on the major. Who's the best person to contact regarding an AP class to see if it fulfills the humanities? I'm thinking maybe course requirement. So we have, if it's in the AP subject, or I should say in the humanities and arts subject, it's going to automatically count. So if it's a history course, if it's an English course, it will automatically count. If it gets into like, can this count as my depth or breadth? That's a really great question. And that's probably a good question for maybe the advisor on our team. Certainly some faculty advisors will absolutely be comfortable answering that question as well, but we can definitely connect with a student. If they've got more than one AP course in humanities, like Wes said earlier, only one will actually count for the requirement. Any additional ones would count as potentially free elective credit, which some students will have as a degree requirement, so they may be able to count it there. I think Wes may have mentioned earlier, of course, February 23rd, right? No classes. February 24th is a wellness day, right? So, certainly for kind of new students, first year students, very tempting to kind of just like the long weekend, right? But definitely encouraging them to connect with their faculty advisor on the 23rd if they can, or create, going in an alternate day. So then they can, of course, use the wellness day to just relax and think and, and kind of chill out a little bit. So, but definitely if they're thinking BSMS, and we do work with a number of students who do start thinking about doing master's degrees even in their first year, that's a great opportunity for them to go to the fair, stop by, see what it's about. They might, connect with somebody that, they may be interested in pursuing coursework, and then that helps us help them plan out their 4 years. Yeah, great question. So I think there's a social studies class they need to take before the IQP. Is that correct? That is correct. If they do a project center IQP, they take a course called ID 2050. It's basically the research that they would do on the project before they go. So, and they will be working with the same students in that course as they would go to a project center. So, so it has to be in the term before they leave. So if they're going away in next term, in D term, they will be doing that class right now with the exact same students. It does count as a social science requirement. Question for you, Wes. You oversee the Insight program. So what was the Insight program for first years? They were told what counts as PE credits suddenly turned into a class that required essays so they could get credit. Maybe you could talk a little bit about the course and kind of the design of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So Insight, our Insight program this past fall, this was our first time ever having it count as wellness and PE credit, which is really awesome. And to fulfill the requirement, what students had to do, or what we've asked students to do, was to complete a program or experience in one of each of our 5 pillars that we hope that students have engaged with in their first semester, those being academic growth, professional development, mental health and well-being, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, and social engagement. After completing each of those experiences, students were asked to complete a very brief reflection prompt. So I think it was about 3 questions of a reflection prompt, and then finally submit a final reflection about, the work that they've done over their first semester and where they hope to continue to grow in their second semester and beyond. And so that was what the format of our Insight program looked like this past year and how students receive credit. And as I mentioned, this was our first iteration of it. And I'm very excited for iteration number 2 and what that can look like, and the opportunities that we have to continue to help folks develop and learn and reflect upon their space and their time at WPI and how they're beginning it. And so hopefully that answers your question and helps you understand what folks were expected to know and how students were informed of what that could look like.
Yeah, I'm just also kind of what Wes said, it is a wellness and physical education. So, we didn't have them do kind of jumping jacks or plyometrics or anything. That's the physical part, but the wellness really is kind of holistic, right? We want them to get involved in a multitude of things when they arrive on campus. We know the first semester can be, first of all, can be nerve-wracking for a lot of students. So we try to really kind of be a soft approach to welcome them to the community, but also, touching upon a different kinds of things. So we don't really have like a first year course that other institutions have, right? So this is really an opportunity for them just to kind of do something that's flexible where they can connect with the advisors. So if your student NR'd it, maybe they just didn't participate in the program, it doesn't affect anything, right? It was an extra kind of 1/12 of a unit on top of their full load. It actually has no bearing, on anything, in regards to their completion of degree, financial aid has actually no impact whatsoever. So, and hopefully they can get some different kinds of PE opportunities, wellness and PE courses in their sophomore year. Do clubs count as the wellness requirement, PE requirement? I would say a good number of them do. There are certain kinds of club sports. And I'll type in the course listings.wpi.edu where you can actually look and see the courses for each term. You can also, sort it by term, by subject. You can get a sense of exactly what counts. Some of them are semester long. Some of them are term-based club sports. So put that in. Yeah, I mean, if you're like we said, talked about kind of the Insight first semester program. So there's certainly a lot of kind of good information, and we know that sometimes students are trying to navigate quite a lot. Maybe they're living away, certainly for the first time. They're living with people. They're trying to figure out food options. They've got classes, so it can be a lot. So, if there's any questions about kind of time management, organizational skills, those are great conversations to have with their professional kind of support person in our office, right? So no matter what your student may be struggling with, this is why we kind of do that kind of introduction during the kind of summer, right? And then we really kind of try to support your students and get to know them. So I work with the first year students, whether it's on course selections or they're telling me how things are going or they're thinking about planning for next year. So really encouraging them and asking them, have you connected with your faculty advisor? Have you connected with your academic advisor? We try, of course, to do these kinds of presentations to kind of give you information to help support them, because they're probably trying to navigate quite a lot at the institution. We can type that in. Okay, so it's the 1 credit or 1/3 credit system that most classes seem to be ranked is not equal to other schools. So, for example, a chemistry class in our school be 3 credits for lecture. Yes, okay. Humanities class might be 3. How does that affect a GPA when comparing to other schools? Since there are no grades or pluses, just plain A, B's, and C's. Yeah, so it's a great question. So a typical 1/3 credit course at WPI is equivalent to 3 credits at another institution that is on our transcript. The majority of classes, they have different kind of contact hours. So chemistry, for example, might have 8 or 9 contact hours. And what I mean is that in class time. And then they would have typically 6 to 8 out of class time. A different course might have 4 to 5 in person, but more out of class. So a typical course at WPI usually is about 15 to 17 hours per week per course. That's in class and out of class. And of course, every student is a little bit different in how they do that. So they're all 3 credits. We do have some 1/6 courses for labs. We have 1/12, which is of course PE courses. In regards to GPA, I mean, the idea of a WPI education is focused on the learning rather than the grades. We don't even put a GPA on their transcript. So students may calculate their own GPA, but the idea is that they're focusing on what they learn, not necessarily worried about, is an A- better than a B+? And so, but at the same time, we don't have failing grades. We have NR grades, no records, so that they do not appear on students' transcripts. So at another institution, a student may get an F, that's a 0.0. At WPI, every student has got above a 2.0, whereas in a different institution, many students have less than a 2.0. So, so the benefit, of course, of that is kind of weighed, of course, with the lack of kind of minuses and pluses. So, the other thing as well, that we don't have prerequisites on courses are really important. Academic advising is really important, so we can help your student make sure they're taking appropriate courses for their major and they're ready for the challenge of that, because your student could register kind of for any course in our catalog. So that's why, connecting with their faculty advisor is really important. Question, Wes, I know we went over a little bit earlier, but we can certainly kind of go over that a little bit. How do they find out who their advisor is?
Absolutely. So students can find their advisor's information in Workday. And so if a student logs into Workday, so workday.wpi.edu, and clicks on the academics worklet, they should be able to see on the right-hand side of that worklet an option that says view my support network. And so by clicking on that option, they'll be able to see the contact information for everyone who's been tagged in that support network. So their academic support advisor, that member of our staff in our Office of Academic Advising, that information will be listed. Their primary faculty advisor, so their faculty advisor for their major, their information will be listed. If it's a student with a double major, their major 2 advisors, so the advisor for whatever is listed as their second major, so their secondary program will also be listed. So all of that information will live in Workday and is readily available to students. If they work with the contact information for their community director should also be in there, as well as if they work with a member of our accessibility services staff, that should be a one-stop place for the folks that are tagged in their support network so that students can view it.
So we've got a couple of more minutes. So if you've got those kind of burning questions, feel free to type them in. You've got Wes and I right here. Of course, we also just value you connecting and joining us. We know that you're managing probably quite a lot. I've got 3 kids of my own, and they take a lot of my time and energy. And so as much as we can to try and include you as your students navigate, their own independence, we're happy to support you. So, so we'll stay on for a couple more minutes and see if there's any other questions. So question, if the student, let's say it's a first-year student, is considered a sophomore after B term, would he still be a rising sophomore? That's a really great question, because some of your students will bring in AP credit or other kinds of credit, and it may affect their standing. And so the registrar's office, there's a certain kind of window of credits, right, that what it takes to become a sophomore and a junior. And it's really important that your student, when they registrar's office to send that information about course registration, that they go in and they see what date they are registering. Now, keep in mind that once registration opens, it remains open. So if for some reason they thought they were first-year students, but the sophomores went the day before, once it opens, they're open. It remains open. Of course, we want them to take advantage of the opportunity with their group, because that they may have to take more advanced courses because they brought in AP credit or transfer credit. So they can see that right in Workday, and that's where they should be checking. Okay. Not seeing any more questions. If anything comes in or we see anything, I see one here, but if anything we get cut off for any reason, you should absolutely feel free to email Wes or I. We can happily do any follow-up questions. So was the registration period for the summer terms and the ability to drop without financial penalty. Registration for summer classes opened this past Monday. As long as your student drops the course before the class begins, then they will not get charged. So so they can feel free to register, and then if they're kind of thinking about taking the WPI summer course, and then they can they could make drop the course next month or before class begin in May. So also want to mention that we do work with students who may be interested in taking a course at another school. If that's something that your student is interested in taking, maybe something close to home, having them work with their advisor on our team, we're happy to kind of advise them on what that process is. Okay, Wes, you all set to sign off? Thanks everyone for connecting. We really appreciate your time. If anything comes up, please encourage your student, of course, to utilize Academic Advising Day. And if they've got any questions, we're happy to help. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.